Hello everyone, this is Jason Merkel with Horizon Hobby, and we're out at the park today to show you guys a very special model. One of my absolute all-time favorite airplanes, to be honest. I've been flying for a very long time, and this is actually our fourth iteration of this model, so some of you may recognize it. If you don't recognize it, that's okay. We're gonna give you a little bit of an overview. We're gonna go ahead and fly it here. The reason we're at the park today is because that's one of the nice things about this airplane. It's a 1.1 meter wingspan model, which makes it small enough so it's easy to store, easy to transport, and you can fly it in smaller spaces than a traditional flying field. In this case, we've got a couple of soccer fields and a baseball field that we're flying over, of course, free of people and obstructions. Make sure if you do fly in a park-like setting that you are allowed to do so in the area that you're doing it in. Be sure to be safe and careful, of course. But again, that's the nice thing about this model. You can fly it a lot more places, and it's still a lot of fun. The one really special aspect of this model, though, my favorite aspect, is it's the perfect next step model after a trainer. So if you learned how to fly a trainer aircraft recently and you're looking for your second airplane, this is probably the absolute best choice you could make across the board for a lot of reasons. Number one reason, which I'll show you guys today, is I'm actually flying this with our Spektrum DXS transmitter. This is the transmitter that's included with a lot of our trainer aircraft. So the AeroScout Apprentice 1.2 meter, Carbon Cub S2, Apprentice STS, Habu STS, in time, those will all come with this transmitter. And this transmitter can be used to fly this airplane. Now, you can't switch back and forth between flying the two airplanes very easily because you'll have different trim settings. And so we do highly recommend, if you're going to end up flying multiple models each time you go out, you upgrade your transmitter to a higher level transmitter, a computer transmitter, a DX6E, a DX8E, the phenomenal NX6 or NX8, so on and so forth. And we will show some of that in another video. But what's nice about using this transmitter is it is very, very simple. Also, really cool feature. We upgraded this airplane, and we'll get into some of those details here in a minute, but you'll see there's 4 green LEDs on the transmitter here. This is battery telemetry. This is the battery plugged into the telemetry capable electronic speed control, which is connected to a Spektrum smart receiver, 631 in this case, that is then sending telemetry back to this transmitter in the form of the LEDs here. If you have a computer transmitter, it'll show it as a voltage on the screen and some other additional data as well, which we'll get to here in a minute. But what's nice is while you're flying around then, you can actually look down and get an idea of about how much battery power you have left remaining. And when it gets down to the last one, it will beep, and that's a good time to land. And the nice thing is that gives you a little bit of a warning before your battery gets low enough that you run out of power and that you hit the low voltage cutoff of the speed control, which will then pulse the power, and it makes it a little bit harder to land safely. So really, really great feature. Very simple transmitter. I've got it set up today with the AS3X and Safe Select on this same switch that we typically use on our Safe Equipped trainers for beginner, intermediate, and experienced mode. Today, I've only got it with Safe Select, which is what this airplane is equipped with. We only have Safe Select on, and then we have Safe Select off and AS3X on or AS3X on. So the two positions that are at the back of the switch here, in the middle and then towards you, these are AS3X only. All the way away from you is Safe Select on. So real quick, let's talk a little bit more about the airplane. This airplane originally came out about 10 years ago, and at the time, it was actually the first kind of park flyer sized airplane that was made out of fully molded, at the time we called it Z-foam. Z-foam is basically EPO foam, kind of a rubbery foam. It's not a typical styrofoam. It's not, you know, coffee cup, foam cup styrofoam. It's more durable. It does a better job of holding up to the abuse and rigors of flying. What's also nice about it is if you do damage it, you can repair it with pretty much any glue, epoxy, regular super glue or CA glue, a whole variety of glues. You don't have to have a foam safe capable glue. And for that reason, it really took off. People loved how it flew, but the size of it, the durability of it, the simplicity of it. And at that time, it was very interesting because although there were a lot more advanced models in the market that were much more expensive, this airplane really took the market by storm. Everything from, you know, fun fly events that I went to large contests that I went to, pretty much everybody from a low time pilot to an experienced pilot had one of these. To be honest, I've owned many of these over the years. I've worn them out. I've flown them so much. So much fun to fly. It is a model of the T-28 Trojan, which the military uses as a trainer for a long time. And it's nice because it's a relatively stable platform to begin with. So it's a very good flying full-scale aircraft, but it's a really easy flying RC aircraft as well. It's a 4-channel aircraft. It does have ailerons, elevator and rudder control, and nose wheel steering, as you guys can see there, and then throttle control. It does require a 5-channel transmitter at least if you're flying the bind and fly basic version. So the DXS is actually a 7-channel transmitter. It's got enough channels to do what we need to do to fly this particular model. And so that's nice because I can use that 5th channel here to actuate the Safe Select on and off, which we'll get to a little bit more here in a moment. But what we did with this iteration is we upgraded it. We took the existing airframe and we added some improvements to it. We strengthened the wing so it wouldn't flex as much because we added more power. So we now have a different motor that's 3S battery and 4S battery compatible right out of the box. We've also connected that to a telemetry capable 30 amp ESC. And so that ESC comes in both the plug and play version and also the bind and fly basic version. The bind and fly basic version goes one step further, and it does include that Spektrum AR631 smart receiver. Bind and fly means it's ready to bind to your existing Spektrum transmitter. You do still have to supply a battery, you do still have to have a charger for it. But what's nice about this airplane is you can use the same 3-cell battery that comes with a lot of our trainer aircraft. So if you've got an Aero Scout, if you've got an Apprentice 1.2 meter or a Carbon Cub S2, this is the Smart 3S 2200 milliamp 30C battery. Perfect for this application. You don't need a more powerful battery. You'll see I'm going to fly it today on both the 3S for a little bit, then I'll land and I'll swap over to the 4S battery. And with the 4S battery, it definitely has a lot more performance, better suited for a more experienced pilot, of course. And that's what's nice about this airplane is it's fun to fly, whether you're a low-time pilot or a very experienced pilot. You really can't go wrong with it. It's very easy to put together. It doesn't require any glue to put it together. A couple of bolts and some tape to hold on the tail, snap in the landing gear, and you're ready to go. We did also upgrade, by the way, the motor mount to make it stronger to handle the more powerful motor. We upgraded the nose steering so that holds up a little bit better to not the smoothest landings. You can also remove the landing gear and hand launch and belly land if you're flying from longer grass. The grass we're flying from today is not that thick, not that long, so it works pretty well even with the stock wheels. And then of course you can take off and land on pavement as well. So let's get to the flying. And like I said, I am again flying with this DXS, and this switch here controls Safe Select on, which it is there. This is AS3X, so Safe Select off, and this is also AS3X, which is Safe Select off. There's those 4 LEDs we were talking about for our telemetry. This switch is not doing anything. This is set up usually down the road for airplanes that would have flaps and other features. This is my high rates, my low rates. So you'll see if I move all the controls into the corners like that, the surfaces are moved a little bit less than if I flip it there. That gives me more control. And then this is a very, very important switch. This is throttle cut. When this is flipped towards me, I don't have any throttle control. The motor will not run. If I flip this away from me, it will actually run. So you can see that's a really, really important feature right there. You want to make sure to take advantage of that whenever you're carrying the model, whenever you're holding the transmitter and the model's out in the field. I always keep that on until I'm ready to take off. So now that I'm ready to take off, we're just gonna go ahead and show you a little bit of taxiing around. So I'm using the rudder control with the nose wheel steering to turn. I am holding full up elevator because that does help keep the nose wheel from digging into the ground as I'm taxiing around on the grass. So again, I'm starting with the 3-cell battery. We'll show you guys that first. You'll see it has plenty of power. I am gonna keep a little bit of up elevator while I'm throttling up to take off to help keep that nose from digging into the ground. As it starts to roll, I'll start to pull back, let go of that elevator, and then I'll pull a little more and it'll take off nice and smooth. And I really like that we changed to this all yellow painted trim scheme. In the past, it was a mostly white airplane with red trim, which also looked really good and was a scale trim scheme. This yellow just really has great visibility in all conditions. But yeah, you can see it's got good power, even on 3 cells. Look at that. Pretty darn fast. You can pull up, do a little bit of a stall turn here, pull back out of that, go to the other side here, pull over the top, throttle back and roll out of that a little bit. So it can do basic aerobatics, which is very nice. Now, if you're a low-time pilot just making your move to this model as your second next step airplane, I have now turned on Safe Select. With Safe Select on, it's very much like the beginner mode of the trainer aircraft that we sell. So in this mode, when I move the stick, there's a bank angle limit and a pitch angle limit. So if I pull all the way back into the corner like that, it just does a circuit. And if I let go, it goes right back to level all on its own. So it's a very, very good mode if you're a low-time pilot just kind of getting used to the airplane. It's just like flying in beginner mode with your trainer. You do not have an intermediate mode like you had with your trainer aircraft, but you don't really need it because by now, if you've mastered that trainer aircraft, you're probably ready for a model that doesn't have the intermediate mode. So we can fly it around a little bit. I basically have it a little over half power right now. I'm just cruising around nice and slow and easy, giving it very simple inputs to make simple turns, pulling back on the stick to make that turn a little bit tighter. Just a really simple, easy flying airplane. Again, it's much like flying our trainer aircraft in this Safe Select On mode. Super simple. Awesome. So what I'll show you now is I'm gonna do a landing with Safe Select turned on. So if you're a low time pilot, you're gonna appreciate this. Even if you're comfortable flying your trainer, it's still as beneficial to use that safe mode your first couple takeoffs and landings to kind of just help keep the wings level so you don't have to focus too much on that, especially if there's a little bit of wind out. I'm just gonna let it come down. I am gonna flare a little bit as it gets close to the ground. Flare just a little bit, nice and smooth and easy. Look at that. And now it's ready for another takeoff. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep it in the Safe Select turned on mode. And I'm going to just give it full power, pull back on the stick a little bit to keep the nose up, and then just let it fly off. Look at that. Super easy with Safe Select turned on. Now, the other nice thing about Safe Select, if you happen to have it turned off, so I'm gonna turn it off now, I'm gonna go up a little bit higher and I'm gonna simulate what happens if you get into trouble. So let's say you're flying around, you're having a good time, you're getting used to the extra controls that you have without Safe Select on, and you're doing some aerobatic maneuvers maybe, but you just lose orientation, lose control. No problem, it's going straight into the ground. I'm gonna flip Safe Select on and look at that. The airplane bailed out all by itself. So that's kind of the equivalent to the panic recovery mode that we have on our trainer aircraft. Again, if you get in trouble, as long as you have enough altitude, Safe Select can save you. I'm gonna show you guys that one more time. I got AS3X turned on, I've got Safe Select turned off. I'm just gonna go almost straight into the ground, flip Safe Select on, and boom, it saved the airplane. Pretty impressive. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and turn Safe Select off now. And with this 3-cell battery, I'm gonna show you some of the other aerobatic maneuvers and performance that it has. Look at that, it can fly pretty darn fast, low and tight circles, no problem, very, very stable. And as a very experienced pilot who's flown a lot of airplanes, I can tell you this is just one really, really fantastic flying airplane. It's really smooth, it's really easy to kind of anticipate the maneuvers. You don't have to focus as much on flying this airplane as some more complex, more heavily loaded, maybe even, faster models. On a 3S battery, the speed is already pretty good. And you can see I've got plenty of thrust to do even vertical climbs for a little ways. Running out of steam there at the top of that, so I'll level out. All right, come back by here and we'll do a roll real quick for everybody. There's just a quick aileron roll. Do it the other way now. Nice and easy. All right, hopefully my cameraman's ready. I'm gonna do a nice loop here. Just pull back on the stick, not quite all the way. Come all the way around, nice and easy. And by the way, guys, I am flying in the high rates right now to do these aerobatic maneuvers. As a less experienced pilot, when you have Safe Select turned off, you may prefer to actually have low rates unless you're doing aerobatic maneuvers. If you're flying with Safe Select on, it's usually better to use high rates because then you do have a little bit higher bank angles and a little bit higher pitch angles. You show you it flies inverted, no problem? Look at that. So cool. I just love flying this airplane. Can even knife edge a little bit. Not as good knife edge on 3S as it can on 4S because it doesn't have quite the speed to keep the nose up, but it's still a very, very capable airplane, which is pretty impressive. Such a simple airplane, more than 10 years old now, the design is. It was just that good at its time, and that's really why it took the market by storm. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up for a landing now, and then I'm gonna swap over to the 4-cell battery and show you guys the performance difference. So I don't have safe on now. Just greasing it in there nice and easy. I'm gonna taxi it over to us and I'm gonna show you guys. Whoa, looks like we're stuck in a rut. That happens sometimes. If that ever happens, guys, don't force it. Walk over to the model, get it out of the rut. I'm gonna bring it closer to our cameraman so I can show you this battery swap. By the way, you can see on the transmitter here, We've got the second LED blinking now, which means, you know, we've got somewhere around 25 to 50%, somewhere in there left. And if that had gotten down to the last LED and beeped, that would have meant we had about 25% or less left, and that is a good time to land. So really quick, safety first, I'm gonna turn throttle cut on, and then I'm gonna pop the canopy. There's a nice little tape pull tab here that makes it easier for you. You pop that open, and there is that 3-cell 2200 battery. The connectors are right here in front. I'm gonna disconnect that first, slide the battery out. Now, this is an older design, and so we did things a little differently back then. Our goal was to try and eliminate the need to have to use hook and loop material and straps to hold the battery in place. So we made that cavity a tight fit for the recommended 3-cell and 4-cell 2200 batteries. And then what happens is, after you slide the battery in, there's a stop here that keeps the battery from moving forward and backwards. So the downside to this is you can't use a much longer battery than the one that we recommend. Some people will remove this wall here, they'll open and enlarge the opening here, and then they will use hook and loop material to fly with a bigger battery. We don't recommend that. It doesn't need a bigger battery. It does fly for a good amount of time on a 2200, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, no problem, depending on how you fly. But I'm gonna show you installing the 4-cell battery. My transmitter is already turned on. I do have throttle cut on just to be safe. And what I do is I put my balance lead on top of my main power lead here to help me get it through this opening a little bit easier. And then I just slide the battery into the opening all the way until it stops. There, I've hit that stop, and you can see my wire leads here. Now I'm gonna plug it in, tuck these wires down inside, and then as long as you've pushed this battery all the way forward and it's not too long, when you put the canopy on, it's gonna be right against that stop on the hatch. So slide the hatch into place. Boom, that means everything is where it needs to be. The canopy fits nice and solid. If it's not quite down all the way, don't fly because you probably will lose it. So now we've got the 4-cell battery installed. You guys can see our battery voltage indicating LEDs here are showing us 4 lights because we've got a fully charged battery, which is nice. We can flip throttle cutoff, check to make sure our motor is running. It is, and we're gonna taxi out. And this time, we're gonna fly this as aggressively as we can, because with a 4-cell battery, it is an absolute blast. It is very capable, an absolute treat to fly for an experienced pilot. Oh, we hit a rut there. And again, I'm holding full up elevator as I'm taxiing to help keep that nose from digging in more. So now that I'm ready for takeoff, here we go. Rolled inverted, push it around, and it is moving. Wow. Come by on a fast pass so you guys can hopefully see the speed. Look at that. It is booking. Many, many years ago, we used to hop these up with more expensive motors and speed controls to get this level of performance, and now it comes that way out of the box. And it basically has unlimited vertical. I could just keep flying straight up until I couldn't see it anymore, which of course you don't want to do. Let it come back down here. But what's also really nice about this airplane is even though you can fly it fast, you can also fly it very, very slow. So now I've got the power down around 1/4 throttle, and this is with a 4S battery. With the 3S battery, you'd have to carry a little bit more power. But look at that, I can pull back on the elevator stick and just cruise it around nice and slow. Look at how slow that is. You know, it's funny, the thing that impresses the crowd the most at the flying field when you're flying this is not just the full speed aerobatics and the full speed passes, but when you fly it around real slow like this, guys are always like, wow, that is so cool that it has that wide of a speed envelope. So slow and low flying is kind of fun, but it never hurts to have all that extra power on tap so we can do all kinds of aerobatic maneuvers. So hopefully the cameraman's gonna be able to keep up with me. All right, do an inverted pass here. Flying around at full power now, it is really moving. Here's the knife edge. It'll actually climb now with the 4S battery in knife edge, which is pretty darn impressive. You can do nice point rolls. You can pull big, giant loops if you want to. Pretty much as big as you want because you have unlimited vertical power. And then something that a less experienced pilot can work up to is this. This is a rolling circle. So you can see I'm doing a roll continuously while making a circle. It's a combination of aileron, elevator, and rudder inputs, but this airplane is capable of them. In fact, I used to just take off and do this for almost an entire battery many years ago. You can change the direction. Even when you're rolling the same way, you can turn this circle the other way to turn it into a figure 8. Bring it down lower. Just a lot of fun to fly, guys. Even for an experienced pilot, I absolutely can't get enough of flying this airplane. This is gonna go with me everywhere, all the time. Whether it's calm conditions, windy conditions, I'll be flying it. It's an absolute blast. Let's do some low and slow inverted flying. Just a really, really good flying airplane. It's capable, it's easy to fly, it's fun to fly, it's durable, it's simple, it's a great value. Absolute blast to fly. All right. And then something else that it kind of can do, which it didn't used to do in its stock form, is it can actually hover a bit now. And hovering, for those that haven't seen this before, is basically hanging off the propeller. It's a little harder because the ailerons don't go full span, but it can kind of do that. All right, so there you have it. We're gonna bring it in for a landing now. Really easy to land airplane, really, really easy. So there you guys have it. That is the E-flite T-28 Trojan, 1.1 meter. Better than it's ever been, more fun than it's ever been, more capable than it's ever been, more technology than it's ever had before. It's an absolute blast. Be sure to check out our website for more details. Also check out the other videos that we have here on YouTube. I can't say enough good things about this airplane. If you're moving up from a trainer, again, the perfect next step airplane. Whether you're looking to move into warbirds down the road, or maybe you're looking to move into scale airplanes or something else, this is the perfect first low-wing model, the perfect first warbird model, again, the perfect next step model. And even for an experienced guy like me, this is my perfect no hassles, take it anywhere, have a good time with that airplane, that it's always going to be with me in the years to come. So really excited to have it. Again, be sure to check out more details on our website. Should be available now. Thank you.